One of the biggest international mega hit songs so far of the 21st century was almost heard by nobody. Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Lift me like an olive branch and be my homeward dove. Dance me to the end of love. Let me see your beauty when the witnesses are gone. Let me feel you moving like they do in Babylon. Show me slowly what I only know the limits of, and dance me to the end of love. Oh, dance me to the end of love. La la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la. Dance me to the wedding now, dance me on and on. Dance me very tenderly, dance me very long. We're both of us beneath our love, we're both of us above. Oh, dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the children who are asking to be born. Dance me through the curtains that our kisses have outworn. Raise a tent of shelter now, though every thread is torn. Oh, and dance me to the end of love. Oh, dance me to the end of love. La 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 Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Touch me with your naked hand and touch me with your glove and dance me to the end of love. Oh, dance me to the end of love. Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to High Low Brow, because culture matters and I want to have fun. I'm going to talk to you about Leonard Cohen here. This is challenging because there's no way we can get our arms around all of what Leonard Cohen was and all of what Leonard Cohen wrote in 20 minutes. I just played a song for you, and I'll build up to talking about that song in a minute. But that song is obviously not the big international mega hit I'm talking about, although it has a relationship with it. So Cohen died 10 years ago this year. I think a little like 9.5 years ago as of right now. He was old. Born in 1934. He was a French-Canadian Jewish poet, actually. He had been in a country band, apparently. I think the Buckskin Boys was the name of the band when he was at McGill University. But he had published poetry, and I think he had also published his first novel, in fact, his only novel, Beautiful Losers, by the time in the late 60s when he suddenly became a sort of unlikely member of the folk music Canadian singer Judy Collins really brought him out, put him on stage with her, sang duets with him. This is an important feature, really, all his career, is to have women singing duets with him, because although in some ways he's extremely charismatic, Cohen is not obviously physically attractive. I don't want to be unkind, but he had kind of a lugubrious tenor croak when he was a young man in his early 30s, when he took the stage with the Flower Children, and by the end, I think he died 16 days after the release of his last studio album, which I think the title of the album is "You Want It Darker." And he had a lugubrious bass croak, and so he was smart. He knew this. He sang with female backup singers most of his career. So Cohen's first album was very much a folk album. It's called "Songs of Leonard Cohen," and it had three at least tracks that he continued to play the rest of his career. Probably more. I think "So Long Marianne" might be on there, but "Bird on the Wire" and "Sisters of Mercy" and "Suzanne" are, as songwriting goes, as songwriting craft, are just absolutely top of the heap. Absolutely amazing songs. He was a poet. They are not poems. They are songs. But he is really good as a lyricist. I think because of his engagement with poetry also. The songs are not poetry, but they are poetic, right? They're the songs of a poet. There's poetry in the songs. And so you might have thought he was bound for superstardom. It's not obviously the case that he was. His albums subsequently did not do nearly as well. He wrote great songs. He became known for songs about failed romance. And people, I saw an interview I'll talk a little bit more of in 1984, when he was touring for his album Various Positions, and he was touring in Australia. We'll talk about why that is. And the TV host was sort of trying to make fun of him and said, "Well, you're really known for gloomy songs, aren't you?" And Cohen says, "Well, my friends think I'm a barrel of laughs." But he was known for gloomy songs. He was known for songs about cheating and about relationships falling apart and about one-night stands and about being a seducer, seducing somebody out of a stable relationship, right? Songs that have remorseful and guilty kind of aspects to them, and sometimes fairly explicit, fairly adult kind of songs you're not going to listen to with children around. And he said had this kind of doomed ladies' man quality to him. Although at the same time, he was also starting in his, probably if I sat and looked at all of his oeuvre, I'd say it started earlier, but at least as early as the album New Skin for the Old Ceremony, in which he recorded Who by Fire, he was starting to take a turn toward let's say the spiritual. Cohen was Jewish. Of course, the name Cohen implies that he's of priestly descent. I think he carried this as a real part of his consciousness. At his concerts, at least late in life, I know that at the end of the concert he would make the hand gesture of the Shekinah, and he would pronounce a priestly blessing on the crowd at his concerts. Right? Who by Fire is a song that is a translation of a medieval Kabbalistic poem. So as early as kind of the early 70s, he was, that's mid 70s. He was at least sort of beginning this development of himself as a singer of not only things spiritual but things that are really connected to him. This is for me, this is the fundamental greatness of Leonard Cohen, is that he wrote songs that no one else would have written. They are the songs of a priestly, poetic Jew. They are songs written that no one can really imitate, right? Because and that to me suggests a certain kind of an honesty, a certain kind of commitment to art that says, look, I came here to write my songs, not to write hits, right? Not to write the thing which is popular. And but the result was that although and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the first album was famous, produced at least three songs off the album that were I think recognized as kind of, I don't want to say instant classics, but enduring. They've proved really enduring in his catalog and others covering them. And then his subsequent albums didn't do nearly as well, and some of them did pretty badly. He was recording "Death of a Ladies' Man," and reportedly people took to bringing guns to the recording studio because of the tension between Cohen and the producer, or the producer trying to push him musically in directions he didn't want. And the albums didn't sell well, to the point where in 1984, Cohen's seventh album is Various Positions. And Sony Records, which was his record label at the time, had so little confidence in the album they didn't put it out in the United States. And so there is footage, there is film of him touring to support that album, and you can find it on YouTube. He's on German television, and he's on Australian television talking about the songs on that album. Now, the song I played at the beginning of this set, "Dance Me to the End of Love," is, by the way, the album's great. It's great. It's got a bunch of terrific songs, one of which is "Dance Me to the End of Love," and I want to talk a little bit more about that song, and then talk about the really famous song that was not released in the United States. Okay, that was on that album. So "Dance Me to the End of Love." So Cohen had become famous for songs about breaking up. "So Long, Marianne," "Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye," or songs about him, one night stands, right? The Chelsea Hotel No. 2 is a song about his one night stand with Janis Joplin, right? Or songs about him seducing women where he knows consciously he's in the wrong, right? So this kind of, Lothario, romantically doomed kind of image hangs over him, and he puts out this record, this album, which includes the song "Dance Me to the End of Love," right? And at a first hearing, that might sound like, this is Cohen, he's at it again, right? "Dance Me to the End of Love." Look, this is just about a good time. Love is an infatuation. It's going to end. Let's just keep dancing as long as we can, and then we'll get out of this, right? Would be sort of an unsurprising way to hear that song in 1984, given the 17 years and the 6 albums of songs by Cohen about doomed relationships. Is this what you wanted, to live in a house that is haunted by the ghost of you and me, for example, is one of his lyrics. Which, fair enough, but let me just tell you two things. I'm going to show you two things about "Dance Me to the End of Love" Leonard Cohen is great, and I want to sort of show you some of the greatness of Leonard Cohen, and B, kind of show him as this poet developing in this direction, right? So thing one, I'm going to show you a clip from the official music video. Now this is released, this is not from the album Various Positions. This is a video that is the official video, but the audio is taken from a later live release. So if you watch this video, I'm going to play just 30 seconds of it without sound. Okay, but if you go watch it on YouTube, you'll go, oh, it starts with applause. This is not a studio album. Correct. This is the same song, but it's a live take. Now, I'm just going to. This This is literally where the singing kicks in verse 1. So I may even kind of I'll recite kind of the lyrics here, probably out of time, out of meter, but just so you can remember this is a music video. Okay, so the question is, you're watching this video, right? Is what is this song about? And during the instrumental lead-in, we see a theater being set up and people populating the theater to watch Cohen step up in front of red curtains in this kind of elegant setting to sing. Here's where verse 1 comes in. Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Now watch what happens here. Lift me like an olive branch. Be my homeward dove. Dance me to the end of love. And I won't play the whole video because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But the whole thing is showing these real life couples with a picture of them, and they're all black and white, right? Black and white photos from their wedding, and then showing them standing there, and sometimes they dance or they kiss, and it really changes the meaning of the song, right? Suddenly it's not about the ephemeral nature of relationships, right? But about the ephemeral nature of love, the ephemeral nature of human life, and the great power of love and getting us through. The other thing, and I'm not going to show you this clip, but I'll probably put the links. I'll put the link to this video and the link to an interview in the description. You can watch Cohen touring for that album. He didn't tour in the United States. It was not released in the United States, but he toured elsewhere, including, I mentioned, Australia. And there's a great clip where he and his band, this little kind of slightly pokey country, Euro country kind of band, musically, I don't know, downscale, it's a pretty simple little musical setup. And then he talks to the interviewer, and this is the guy who says, well, you're just a gloomy Gus, aren't you? He also asks about the meaning of the song, and Cohen says something that's just sort of shocking. He says, in fact, he tells the guy, he says, I'm hesitant to tell you because I think that you will, that it's going to make you all depressed. He said, where does this song come from? He says, I had heard that, now, by the way, heard, right? Remember, he's born 1934. He is a French-Canadian Jew. He's 11 when we get the revelations of Auschwitz, right? He says, I had heard that that if you were a prisoner in the concentration camps who was musical, that what they would do is when they were herding people into the gas chambers to execute them, they created little prison bands, little chamber orchestras, and you had to stand there and play musical pieces as prisoners are goaded into the gas chamber to be gassed with Zyklon B or whatever and killed. He says, and that's what this song is about. And holy cow, right? Because suddenly, the first and the last verse start the same. Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. And suddenly this is freighted with just a massive emotion. That who are you? Are you the person who knows you're going to your death, and you're grasping that sort of last moment of music, right? This is what's going to get you through. It won't save your life, but it'll dance you through the panic till you're gathered safely in. What is it to be the musician, right? To be playing your violin or your cello or whatever, these horrible circumstances. And about the sort of the redeeming power of beauty in the face of death. So I wanted to show you this song because, like, in a sense, this is a very unfamous song from Cohen's oeuvre. This is not the famous one. It's not the famous one from that album, but just shows some of the greatness, right? This is relentlessly. This is popular music. I mean, it's not orchestral. You know, it's not. It's just a little, dance song, right? It's not some Alan Parsons Project crazy abstract piece or King Crimson where you have to count out the 17 beats on every bar to figure out what the time signature is. It's very straightforward, simple music, but it's resolutely not simple, it's deliberately carrying multiple really impactful layers of meaning. Now, in a sense, that's not even the song that I came to talk to you about. It's certainly not the one that I teased at the opening. So 1984, he puts out various positions. The record company won't even publish it in the United States. So it's kind of looking like his career is maybe over, right? Or at least in trouble. What else is on that album? Well, that is also the album on which Cohen releases Hallelujah. So let's talk about Hallelujah went from being released on an album that was virtually killed by the publishers to being a song that, because you probably, roll the dice, you probably have not heard Dance Me to the End of Love or wouldn't recognize it, but you've heard Hallelujah. You've heard it a lot. You've heard it with Cohen's lyrics, you've heard it with other people's lyrics, you've heard it rewritten to be a church song, which it is not a church song. How did it get there? What morals can we take? Well, Cohen he never went away. He kept his whole life from 1967 until, again, I think 16 days before he died. And in fact, there was a posthumous album released. I think it was sort of outtakes, though. I think his last real album was You Want It Darker. Never stopped producing. He was for a lot of years sort of a songwriter's songwriter. So who was listening to him? Yes, he had a following, but like a lot of his following were other writers, right? So there's a comment, I forget who said this. Some music critic made this comment about the late 60s, early 70s rock band Velvet Underground, that only 1,000 people ever bought a record while the Velvets were actually a live act, but every one of them started his own rock and roll band. That's kind of what happened to Leonard Cohen. And you can see it if you look at I think there are to date 4 different Leonard Cohen tribute albums. I haven't actually heard the third and the fourth. I do have the 1991's I'm Your Fan and 1995's Tower of Song. Let me talk about those for just a minute. I'm Your Fan was the first Leonard Cohen tribute album, and the names who were on it were great. Some of them were a little bit underground. I don't know if everyone's going to recognize the name Lloyd Cole, for example. But REM was on it. Ian McCulloch, the lead singer of Echo and the Bunnymen, Pixies, the British band James, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, one of my personal favorites. We'll probably talk about them at some point, and John Cale. Speaking of the Velvet Underground, John Cale had been the pianist, the keyboard player on the Velvet Underground, classically trained Welsh musician, still around today, I think. And John Cale played a cover of Hallelujah, okay, which is piano. Cohen's is sort of guitar, bass, and a little bit lugubrious. Jeff Buckley, maybe it's worth mentioning, had in the meantime, I want to say maybe 1989, Jeff man, I'm going to get this wrong. I hadn't planned to talk about Jeff Buckley. I think his album was called Graceland. He was a rising star, an amazing vocalist. He recorded a version of Hallelujah on his album Graceland, and then he died really young. And I don't remember how, but I think it might have been drug overdose. Let's be honest, roll dice, musician dies young in this country, there's a pretty good chance. That had happened. Cale recorded a version of Hallelujah, which was sort of the music was this rolling piano arpeggio, and the lyrics were all Cohen's, but he didn't play all the verses. It was a little bit different verse selection. We'll come back to that in a second. 1995, just to get a sense of like what I mean when I'm talking about being a songwriter. Go take a look. Even just go on Amazon. By the way, if you're thinking like this Cohen guy sounds maybe interesting, I don't know if I want to really listen to him, you might check out the 1995 tribute album Tower of Song. Who is on that? Billy Joel, Bono, Aaron Neville, Elton John, Willie Nelson, Peter Gabriel, Martin Gore from Depeche Mode, Don Henley from the Eagles, Trisha Yearwood, Tori Amos. These people are all on a tribute album, right? So, like, that's crazy. These are huge mega stars, right? And as of 1995, Cohen had never become a megastar. He was putting out an album every 4 years or something, and some of them weren't even being published in the United States, being released in the United States. So something happens, and it happens in 2001, and you may already know this, but what happens is, and I forgot her name, but there's the woman who is. And I don't know what her Hollywood title is, musical director or something. She's working on the film Shrek, and her job is to put together the soundtrack, to pick the songs that are going to go in the movie Shrek. And she picks Hallelujah. And she picks specifically the John Cale cover of Hallelujah. And I think the scene it's in is like the sort of the end of Act 2, like, in a Hollywood film, this is where, we apparently have failed, and my friendships are all broken, and I wander around looking sad for 90 seconds before I have the realization that connects me with my friends again and a new plan so we can win, right? I think that's the moment it's in. So Shrek and Donkey and are wandering around looking glum, and you hear Cale in this arpeggio, right? I heard there was a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? And Shrek, spoiler, did pretty well at the box office, and that catapulted that song, Hallelujah, suddenly from obscurity to massive sort of tier 1 international fame, right? And I don't know quite how much sort of let's sort of tell the end of the story. So other interesting things happened to Cohen. I think it's in the late 90s. He went up onto Mount Baldy in Southern California and lived in a Zen monastery for 5 years. He did not become a Buddhist. He was a Zen Jew, right? I think this is sort of after this that his manager, I think they had been romantically involved too, steals, I think the number is like $9 million from him. Sells a bunch of his catalog, steals his money, robs him blind. Cohen sues, wins. There's a website online that sort of is tracking the sort of ongoing legal motions of the Cohen estate. Sort of, will they ever get that money? I think the answer is probably they won't, right? But they're still working on it. And like Cohen could have just sort of crashed, right? But instead, this interesting thing happened, which is that he became a superstar, right? Hallelujah became a song that was covered by all kinds of singers, right? On the I'm Your Fan, it's the other one. On Tower of Song, Bono Actually, this is like my least favorite song on the album. But Bono sings Hallelujah. Rufus Wainwright covered Hallelujah. Like you could Google this. I don't know how many, but it's probably hundreds of covers of the song Hallelujah. People have rewritten the lyrics because the original song, what's Hallelujah about? Man, it's really powerful. It's about the overlap and the connection of the sexual and the sacred, but it's also about the overlap and the connection between powerlessness and exaltation, right? And it's about sort of meeting God in a relationship and being defeated by God, right? And by the woman. But you hear versions where it's been rewritten to be straight up Jesus pop, right? And is sung in churches. And so that sort of I think made up the whole. And Cohen went on tour and went from being sort of a writer's writer to having this one massive hit and being an elder statesman of rock. You know, when he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think Lou Reed introduced him. Speaking of the Velvet Underground again, as I recall, and then Leonard Cohen read his own lyric, "Tower of Song," which is this just fantastic sort of slightly ironic, slightly self-mocking song about Leonard Cohen as a singer. Right? I was born like this. I had no choice. I was born with the gift of a golden voice, and 27 angels from the great beyond tied me to this table right here in the Tower of Song. And again was productive right up to his death. So morals. What do I take of this? I love Leonard Cohen. I love that he was true to his voice. I love that he did not compromise and try and write songs that were different from him. I'm not saying he didn't try to have hits or didn't try to have successes. I'm sure he did. He could have just written poems and not songs. But you recognize a Leonard Cohen song immediately. And I love that in the same way that I love a novel or a show where the character is clearly of a time and a place, that character is a real character, right? Leonard Cohen is a man of a time and a place. He's a pre-war French Canadian Jew, right? And his songs are written by that man from that time and that place. And I would love to say that I think the moral is, hey, if you stay true to your muse, if you write the true song, commercial success will come. That is unfortunately not the moral. I think that there were probably other Leonard Cohens that I don't know of because they never had John Cale record one of their songs, get on the soundtrack of a massive hit movie, right? And suddenly make me or at least my song a household name, right? I think the moral is that I as listener can't demand that the artist do what I want, right? The artist has to live, the artist has to feed his family. But I find it beautiful when someone can stay true to the art and tell the truth they came to tell, make the art they came to make, and I think it is beautiful that sometimes in the world, right? Sometimes when a person does that, the way things work out is that is rewarded and empowered, right? Cohen in an interview, and I think this is post Hallelujah blowing up, and I forget where the interview was. So he said, "I've been very blessed to be able to to write what I want to write and make a living," right? And that's a wonderful thing. If you have not heard of Leonard Cohen other than Hallelujah, look, I'll put a link in the chat. If you're going to start anywhere, what I would do is there's a great 2 CD live album. I think it's Live in London that he did late, and it's great because he's got a live band. So they're really good. So some of his sort of earlier or mid-career albums sound a little pokey, a little kind of low production value, right? and you don't want to be fighting your way through the production value at first. But that live album, is sort of career retrospective. So I think it's got stuff like Suzanne and Bird on the Wire from early, and Hallelujah and Dance Me to the End of Love and Everybody Knows and I'm Your Man, and even some of the later. I think this 2012. So other than like the last album, I think it's got samples of his entire career. I'll put a link in the chat. Anyway, Leonard Cohen, I love him, and if you haven't given him a listen, give him a try, and I hope you like him too. So this has been Dave for High Low Brow. Thanks very much for being with us. Remember that culture matters, and it's okay to want to have fun. Now I heard there was a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to her kitchen chair. She broke your throne. She cut your hair. And from your lips she drew the hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, you say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name. Well, but if I did, well, really, what's it to ya? There is a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I did my best. It wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth. I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah, 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 oh, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.